What's up, everybody? This is Lyrispect for Reelblack, and I am here with Mr. HILL HARPER, who is in town. What brings you to Philly today?
Well, could you slide me that book right there? What brings me to town is my new book, which is called Letters to a Young Sister, Define Your Destiny. We hit number 5 on the New York Times bestsellers list already, so I could not be more proud of this book. It's a follow-up to my first book, which is called Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny, and it's all in keeping with my mission and my purpose, and using a platform that I have to uplift the self-esteem of our young people.
Absolutely. So how is this book a little bit different from your first book that went to Image Awards?
It's so different. It's so different. The first book was written for young men, and what I found in doing research and talking to a lot of young women for this book in particular is that, first of all, this book is thicker. The first book is about 196 pages. This book is 315 pages. The reason why is I found that with a lot of our young men, if they're doing well, they seem to be doing okay or well across the board. If they're not doing well, they seem to not do well across the board. With our young women, it's very different. Young women are more complex. They're more complex in a way where you find some young women may be doing well in school, but they have serious self-esteem issues. They may have great friendships, but then they have issues with talking to their mother. They may have body image issues, but then they play sports. You know, and so there's this level of complexity with young women that's different, and it exists in a different way. So I deal with a lot more subjects. The Young Brother book gets more into general, how are we going to lift up our life in a general way. This gets more in-depth with specific things because young women didn't need as much to me this rah-rah, okay, we're going to make it better. We're going to figure out, okay, if this is wrong, this is a way to approach it.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, and I know that Eve is a part of it,
Eve,
Angela Bassett.
Sierra, Angela Bassett, Sanaa Lathan, Nia Long, Gabrielle Union wrote the foreword, Michelle Obama, Tatiana Ali, Evan Ross.
Very nice.
Zoe Saldana. I mean, it goes on forever. Right?
Awesome.
So I got about 30 surrogate sister superstars, as I call them, and then I got, I have a few men as well. I got Evan Ross, who's Diana Ross's son, to have a young brother in there. I have Blair Underwood, Tavis Smiley, Bishop Noel Jones.
So what do you hope for young girls and readers to gain from this book this time around?
Well, first and foremost, I start everything off, and I'm going to say this in the talk today, I start everything off with self-esteem and self-worth. Because at the end of the day, I believe if you don't deal with the self-esteem and self-worth issues first, then everything else will fall on deaf ears. Everything that's a future-based activity. And a lot of people wonder, when you talk about future-based activities, it's education, it's financial literacy, it's HIV, AIDS, and teen pregnancy and issues around that. All these different future-based activities fall on deaf ears because many of our young people don't think they're worthy of the future. So I deal with addressing that first and foremost. And so it's about uplifting, and the reason why the FINE is in caps in the subtitle, Define Your Destiny, is because I tell young sisters to think of themselves as fine, as fantastic, as interesting, as necessary, and as exceptional.
I think that's wonderful. I only have 1 or 2 other questions for you. We must bring up Barack.
When Barack and I graduated from Harvard Law School, he was the #1 graduating student. He was the president of Harvard Law Review, had all these amazing offers, clerk for the Supreme Court, high 6-figure salaries at all these major corporate law firms. What did he do? Turned them all down, moved to the south side of Chicago, worked out of the basement of a church, community organizing people who had been laid off from local steel plants.
You went to school with Mr. Obama.
Yes, we've known each other about 20 years exactly.
And you're also on the campaign. How's that going?
The campaign is going great. We're very, first of all, we're so proud of everybody out there who's done the work. But the new work starts now. And this is one thing, a lot of people are celebrating the nomination, which is fantastic. But now the real work starts. We have about 4 months to change the world. About 4 months to have a huge impact. And where it's going to come from is new voters. Because the way the Electoral College map is drawn, it's going to require new voters in these states. Pennsylvania is a key state. North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, Florida, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, Colorado. There's some key states out there that people need to know how important they are, and also need to know we need to register new voters in those states. And if we get those new registrants, we got to make sure they actually vote. Part of the problem and part of the work I'm doing has to do with, remember organizations like Rock the Vote, and organizations like Vote or Die, Puffy's Vote or Die. Those were incredibly successful in registering new voters because they had this incredible outreach. They had concerts where if you brought your voter registrations, it's information, you got to get in free, all those things were incredibly successful. But the problem is the follow through. It doesn't matter how many people you register if those people don't vote.
Right.
And that's the key. So I want to make sure all of us work together to make sure we register these new voters, get people excited, and then also have a follow-through to make sure they actually vote. I'm encouraging people to be their own campaign managers.
Absolutely.
To literally keep lists of people you register, carry around registration lists, but then keep the information and call people a week before. Are you planning on voting? Can I tell you where your voting location is?
Right.
And then call them the day before, then call them the day of. Make sure they vote so there's a follow-through.
Right. Did you imagine that you'd be rallying behind Barack while you're in school and then he's very popular? Did you imagine that years later you'd be on his team and you would be, just...
You know what? If you read my books, you know that my whole purpose is to dream big. And then once you dream big, and I'll say this tonight, you dream big. Once you dream big, double that dream, and you still haven't dreamt big enough. Anything is possible. Any of us can achieve anything. And certainly, Barack was one of the top students. He graduated #1 in our class. So, and it's a very competitive environment at Harvard Law School, and Harvard's produced more presidents than any other school. So the point is that anybody out of that class could be president. George Bush was the bottom of his class.
Right.
And he went to Harvard.
Right, exactly.
So it doesn't matter if you're top of the class or bottom of the class. The point is that there are people there that potentially could be president.
Right.
And ultimately, the point is, what's good about this is this time we have an opportunity to actually put somebody who has intelligence, good judgment, and talent in the role.
Right.
And so that's why I'm working as hard as I can, and that's why 8 years from now, I'm glad we're recording this, I believe 8 years from now, if all of us do the work we need to do to get him elected, which means registering new voters and make sure they vote, if all of us do that work, 8 years from now, he'll go down as one of the greatest presidents in the history of this country. His name will go down with Lincoln. His name will go down with Jefferson. His name will go down with Roosevelt. His name will go down with Kennedy.
Absolutely.
And this is the type of opportunity we have. But ultimately, it's up to us. It's not up to Barack. It's not up to anybody else but us. Hey, what's up? This is Hill Harper from CSI New York, author of Letters to a Young Sister, Define Your Destiny. You're watching Real Black. Check it out and define your destiny.